Welcome, in front of me is a Nubia Air, and today I'll share with a couple tweaks and the tricks you can do on this device. So, to get started, let's open up our settings. And here, let me just quickly get rid of something, there we go. So in here, we're gonna get rid of this. But there we go, the main settings page. And I'm going to start off going from the very top in kind of chronological order. So first things first will be the themes and personalization. Now here we have several different categories for customizing our look and feel of the device. And we can basically go with themes, which is kind of where I was located in anyway. We have a couple that are already included. We have the Android Classic and Starry Future, whatever. So you can see these will include things like wallpapers and also icon packs, as all of them have different ones. But we don't need to really limit ourselves to this. We can technically change all of it separately through all of these other options right here. Wallpapers, I mean, I'm not really going to go into this, but for instance, app icons here, we can change from icon packs. I don't have, I think, any installed ones. So the only thing I can change is just the shape of them, which is kind of like it retains still the icon look, that how it is shaped and the colors and whatever, but it just changes the shape of the actual like icon itself. You can do other things like, for instance, hide mono icons, whatever the hell that is, and for some reason none of these really do anything. Okay then, I'm not going to talk about those. It seems like they have no impact, but the actual like look of it did. Now, scrolling further down, we have Daily Wallpaper, which is something that I personally like to always turn off. So if you, by going to the setup, didn't do that, you can turn that crap off in here. If you don't know what this is, whenever you press the power button when you have a screen lock, and it shows you a wallpaper, random ass wallpaper, where it usually is something like a brick wall, a maid cleaning, or some other garbage. Yeah, that's your daily wallpaper. You can get rid of this trash right here before you need to explain to your spouse why do you have a picture of a random ass woman on your lock screen that then disappears. Anyway, continuing on, we have a fingerprint animation style. If you have a fingerprint added, you can change it right here. There's a couple different options right here to choose from. You can click on either one of those to see how it will look like. Going further down, we have an interesting option right here, which is the animation speed. So we have set it to fast right now, and for some reason this is the default. Interesting. Is it default by what is it set? Nope, actually no, it's not. So we can decrease it if you want to make the animations longer. If you wanted to, though I don't know why you would want to do that, but if you do, you can. Now, additionally, this option right here is not the fastest you can have your animation set to. There's actually another option to increase the animation speed, and you know what, I'm gonna do that right now. So, see, there's one last thing that I want to show here, which is the colors and shapes. So this basically defines the colors, like these ones right here, and just the shapes of these toggles. So you can change it. You can set it based on the wallpaper that is right now set on your device. You can also change the shapes right here, just like the icons. And yeah, so now moving on to the actual animation speed, we can increase it further by going into the system and update. And let's see how long it takes me to find, not this. Is it not here? Oh, there we go. It's about phone. So it wasn't there. So it's an about phone, and we're looking for this, the build number. Now, when you tap it 7 times, it will enable developer options or just pop up with a screen lock, which you do to confirm, and then it tells you that you are now a developer. So let's go back and under system and update. Now we should have, there we go, developer options. And in here, we're just going to scroll down, and we're looking for transition animation scale, animation duration scale, and one more, which I don't remember the name. There we go. So we have transition animation scale, animation duration scale, and window animation scale. So So you can see all of those are set to 1. 1 is the default speed, but we can change it to 0.5. This will basically increase the animation speed to basically be twice as fast, cutting down the animation by even further. Holy hell, that spooked the shit out of me. That was way too loud. So yeah, we can decrease it right here. I almost lost train of my thoughts, but anyway. And you can also set it to be off, though I wouldn't recommend doing that. Off sometimes will look a little bit jarring, especially if you're using gesture navigation. But it is here if you want to just completely get rid of animations altogether. This would include things like, for instance, this kind of zooming out animation, zooming in, and so on. So you can get rid of it if you want to. And while we're on the subject of system navigation, we have it right here at the bottom under the system and update as a redirect, and we can change it from buttons to gestures. Now, additionally, we can go into the settings, and we have a lot of other options right here. So, for instance, we have Google Gemini. Oh, great, AC just turned off. It's not like I just turned it on. Anyway, so we can turn off Google Gemini. The reason I'm saying turn off is because, hell, we have so many effing ways to turn it on. We don't need another one. You can do it by holding the power button. You can do it by swiping from the corner like I just did. You can do it by basically clicking on the icon. You can do it by basically saying the phrase. And you can also do it by opening up Google application. Wow. What is it, 4 or 5 different ways of launching it? Shit, I only need one. Like every other application only has one way to launch it. That's as many as I need for Gemini. I don't need 100 effing ways to launch the same dog shit. If I will want to use something that hallucinates answers half of the effing time, I will just ask some hobo on the street. He will give me as good of an answer as the Gemini. Maybe with a little bit less conviction. Anyway, so let's turn that shit off. It's absolutely useless anyway. Something that gives you correct answer only half of the time is not a good answer. So, next on we have avoid miss operation by swipe gestures. That's a stupid way to basically do the gesture, like miss swipe gestures kind of thing. But anyway, next thing we have display button indicator, which is turned off, which I like. Otherwise, it would show you this bar at the bottom. I prefer to not see it. Next thing, circle to search. Can we even launch it? Yeah, we can. Surprisingly enough, we actually can. Now, the reason I'm saying surprisingly enough, because most phones actually don't let you do this as long as you don't have the bar visible. Here, Nubia actually thought about it and still lets me use a feature by considering me a competent human being that has this thing called a wrinkly brain. So I don't need the indicator to know I need to hold it there to launch the freaking feature. Now, the feature is also kind of weirdly named. To be fair, the first time I've heard about it, the circle to search, which was some time ago, I was like, okay, let's circle. Well, I just got absolutely nothing. Big surprise. So the name for it is absolutely stupid. Circle to search. Well, you don't circle to search like the name would imply, which you probably already heard this term before. What you do is hold the gesture bar or the home button. This is circle to search. Now, did I need to circle to search? No, I needed to first hold it. Now I can select what I want to search for. Bit of an idiotic name if you ask me. But in any case, once you launch it, you actually have more options than just circle to search. So you have the option to listen, which basically acts the same way as Shazam does. Pretty nice. And it's built into here. We have translation, we have just Google search, and on top of that, whatever you have open, no matter if that is a picture or not, you can actually select text from here. As you probably are aware, in settings, we have never the option to select text and copy it. But with circle to search, we actually can. You can see I have it selected right now, and it automatically actually searches for it, but I can do translation and copying it from here. Pretty good. Another useful feature that I can use this for is, for instance, if you have, let's see, can I find like something like a, oh, there we go, perfect, serial number of this thing. I'm going to launch camera. As an example, I'm going to hover it over the serial number. And I'm going to hold it. And you can see I launched the circle to search. And now what I can do is just select the serial number. Instant. And it automatically searches, so I can copy it from here, or I can look at the results in here. Though none of them actually appear to be the freaking controller for some reason. That's just Google search. Being absolute ass. Okay. Now you could add probably the name and it would find it, so in any case, it still works pretty well this way anyways. Now, let's move on. Next thing in here is the sensitivity, which we can edit. If you struggle with your back gestures working either too many times, more than you want them to, or not enough, you can increase or decrease the sensitivity of each side, left and right. So by swiping one of those, you will see we have, there we go, this blue bar. This blue bar defines where your finger needs to be in this area and move outside of it to activate the gesture. So if you have it set to very small, it means that you can basically start swiping from here and you will not activate it because, well, the area isn't as big as it is, obviously, if you push it to 3. Now, the way I use gestures, usually I never really have problem with activating it by mistake, and I always swipe my back gesture from the bezel of the screen onto the screen, which activates it every single time perfectly. Anyway, let's move on. So we're gonna back out here and we're gonna move back to the top and now move to the display. Here we have a couple of things like, for instance, the dark mode at the very top, literally first option, and we can turn it on right now, which is just a toggle for dark mode, but the other toggle below that is the turn on automatically. This basically means that your phone will switch from one mode to another, from dark to light and vice versa, based on time of day, or on your custom timer right here, which would mean that at 10 p.m. it switches to dark mode and at 6 a.m. switches back to light mode. Now it's winter and right now it's getting dark at like 4. So you might want to edit that or set it on the turn on from sunset to sunrise. Though it should already be on. I mean, yeah, it's 5, so it should already turn on. I don't see no sun. Anyway, so it might not be perfect right here, but hopefully in a couple hours it will turn on anyway. Now, below that, or besides that, we also have the color temperature. Now, this allows you to edit the tone of the entire display. So typically you have the things like warm and cold and normal. You can also manually, I believe, move it. Yep, there we go. Holy hell, those are like very egregious colors. Like, these are very defined ones. My God. So that's not normally how much you get of the tint of these colors. But what this is doing is just trying to allow you to have like a more, for instance, warmer tone or colder tone to your display to match, for instance, the lighting environment of your room. To give you this kind of nicer look or more accurate look to what's everything around you, and also maybe try to match closer to like what paper would look like in this lighting, though this is done manually. So in this case you're more likely to set something that you find more appealing, maybe like tones that are warmer, like these ones. So holy shit, these are like absolutely insanely overdone. So I would actually recommend maybe adjusting it yourself by just like, you know, moving this a little bit less to the freaking edge of the color wheel, because blue is undeniably blue. It's not just a color tint, it's literally becoming the color of the entire display. So just try to maybe adjust it a little bit to a more reasonable level. Now if we move back here and start scrolling down, we have the screen refresh rate. Now this is budget device by all intents and purposes, but it comes with 120 Hz refresh rate, so that's something that we can utilize. But I'm not going to be focusing on the 120. These options are kind of useless. The only one that I would ever recommend considering is either the auto or 60. Now the reason for that is auto defines the refresh rate automatically, based on content that is being used right now. So at this moment, it will select the best refresh rate, and so I believe this isn't an LTPO display. Let me actually quickly check. Okay, not this computer. So let's see. Nubia Air is using a just AMOLED display, so not an LTPO. Now the reason this matters is because LTPO allows the display to be adjusted below 60 or 30 frames, all the way to like something like 1 frame per second. So that is obviously the kind of better option, as it preserves much more battery compared to what we have right here. Here we get either 30 or 60 frames. I'm not necessarily sure which one, but it's going to be certainly one of those two options. Now when you start moving it, for instance like this, it automatically snaps back to 120 to give you this nice smooth motion, so everything looks, you know, buttery smooth. And the moment you stop moving, there's nothing moving on a display like this, it will lower it down to preserve battery. So that's why I recommend either selecting auto if you like that smooth motion, and if you don't see it, if this is something that you don't really care about and you just prefer to have better battery life, then change it to 60. This will get you better battery life. Now moving back here, we also have full screen display. Now I actually have a lot of application, but I honestly don't know which application to showcase right here. I know from ones that I used myself, something like, for instance, Steam Link, which allows me to connect to my computer remotely through my phone. Steam Link has this thing where it shows you status bar cut out, like a black bar right here, and then only shows you everything below here. So similar to how I believe YouTube would look like if you're watching it. So this space is basically empty and you can't really adjust it. Now, when, for instance, viewing something like Steam Link where you connect it to your computer, that's kind of a useless feature. It's just literally wasting space for no reason. So if you have such an application and you want to have it fully in full screen, where your hole punch camera is visible in the content that is being displayed, then you can toggle it on in here, and this will basically force it into full screen, which is a pretty nice feature. Though it's not something that you will be using that often, as most applications allow you to maybe zoom in a little bit, and in most applications it doesn't really matter that much. It's ones where you maybe want to be more immersed. Like I said, Steam Link was a pretty good application to kind of give us an example. Now, one more thing that I wanted to go into is the notifications and status bar in the main settings page. And in here, we can start off with the status bar icons. This is honestly one of my favorite things you have on Android in general for customization. It's a very small one, but for some reason I just really like it. So what it allows you to do is just get rid of useless shit from your status bar, literally. So I myself use NFC permanently on. I don't need this shit to be visible in my status bar. My Wi-Fi is also always enabled. Again, I don't need to be visible. I know it's on. Same thing goes for Bluetooth, always on, so I don't need it. And that's primarily what I would be getting rid of. These are things that I don't give two shits about to be visible. And they only clutter my status bar and give me actually no value. So I like to hide them. You can hide literally almost everything, including, I believe, battery. See, battery, don't display battery. Yeah, you can just completely hide it away if you wanted to. So that's bit of customization. Also, we have notification icons, and we can make it a little bit more minimal. I personally don't like the 3 applications notification right here. I like it to have a number. That's just my personal preference. Here it's not as nice, as it still has like a stupid icon next to it. Just give me a freaking number and that's all I want. So that's one thing, but it still summarizes it a little bit better. So I know how many notifications I have, because typically if you have more than 4 notifications, I believe, or 3 specifically. So you have 3 that are visible, and everything else is like, yeah, there might be more, might not. I believe it's either going to be like 3 dots or just nothing, like 3 icons and that's it. And only you will know that you have more if you swipe down to see that you have more. So I like to have a number. No matter how many you have, it will just always show you a number of notifications you have in your status bar, which is pretty nice. Also, let me just redo this. Displayed and saved battery. I like the percentage inside for, you know, that nice minimal look. So let's see, anything else here? We have, this is a nice option which looks to be turned on by default. Yep. So if you have never used this, it's a pretty nice one. It allows you to swipe down on your home screen from any height. So you don't need to go from the very top like I would need to do in this app when this app is open. And I can swipe down and get my status bar easily. So there we go. It's a nice one, but if this kind of annoys you, if you don't like it, you can turn it off in the settings right here. So that about, I believe, sums up everything that I wanted to show. So anyway, if you found this very helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.